Hey there, folks. I'm Matt Hansen,
And I'm John Johnson.
and you're listening to Planes, Trains, and Comic Books, the podcast where we discuss favorites we've reread, both classic and new comics we want to read, and everything else in between.
And here's the comic we picked this week.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Planes, Trains, and Comic Books. Today, we are hitting you back with some nostalgia craziness. You might remember a little show called Go Power Rangers. Yeah, fuck yeah, that guitar solo.
We were talking about this off camera, and because I want to specifically mention it. You pretty much learn everything, the basics that you need to know about that show from the intro in like what you said, like 40 seconds.
Yeah, that 40-second intro gives you the entire okay, here's Rita. She comes out of a sewer on the moon or whatever, and then you see her be like, Goldar, and then you see Goldar, and then she's like, I will make monsters or whatever, and then you see Power Rangers fighting, and then Megazords happen, and then they're dinos, and then they're Megazords, and then you even see a different dino configuration, which is that tank looking one.
Oh yeah, the Brontosaurus one.
Yes, which I'm like, I fucking love that one.
I remember I vaguely remember it, but I don't remember
that one is we're in deep shit. We need the Ultra Brontozord or whatever the fuck it is. And then they make that thing. So I was very excited for this comic because as a child, watched this show as it came out, very big fan.
Oh yeah.
Pined over the fucking Green Ranger flutes, dragon flute.
Zord. Oh, the flute dagger.
Where, Green Ranger, if you don't know, the Power Rangers are high school kids and they have these coins in these, I don't know. Morphers, yeah. They place these coins in the morphers.
Belt buckles.
The coins, basically belt buckles.
What can we sell the children easily?
Belt buckles. So these belt buckles have the guy who made this is Texan apparently. They're really into big belt buckles, but they put these coins in these morpher belt buckles, and each one has a dinosaur designation on it, and when they morph, they become the color. Each one has a significant color, and then also their costume represents the dinosaur.
Yeah, their helmets are usually very vaguely shaped. If they're
the guy
motorcycle
that's
helmets.
They're like motorcycle helmets. Motorcycle swords. Oh, now I got a new comic we need to write.
Motorcycle swords.
He goes around kicking ass in the desolation.
I just imagine Grimlock from the Transformers, but that he gets wheels and goes.
There you go. I'm thinking not like a robot dinosaur, but just like an actual T-Rex.
Oh, just the dinosaur on a
Harley, on a tricked out Harley, just kicking ass. He's got a dog or something. But yeah. Anyway,
Power Rangers.
That's my idea. Don't steal it, anybody. But yeah, so. In Power Rangers, they morph. They get little suits that have their colors, expandex suits. The helmets represent their, spirit animal or whatever the fuck it is, their dinosaur. And then they get these big robots like Transformers that they can power into when they need. That are of those dinosaurs. So we see their dinosaurs, and then they can actually form into a bigger thing like Voltron or whatever, and make a Megazord is what it's called.
Yeah.
And we were talking about also they can form into this Brontosaur. A Zord or whatever that's it's basically all of them in a cannon form, like a tank.
Yeah, there's
form.
a big tank or whatever.
So,
and
that they only do that in various very dire occasions.
Yeah.
Where, but each episode of this show escalated from usually Rita sending Rita's the bad guy in this, or the bad woman, and so she's like a witch, a moon witch.
Look, we're young in the 90s. She's a strong female character.
Sure, she's
going to point that out there.
Sure.
Evil
strong character. So Fatal Attraction also has a very strong female character in it too. But yeah, so she makes havoc on Earth, and makes these little. She'll make clay. She has a person that makes clay.
Finster.
Yeah, Finster. Finster makes clay monsters and then can send them to Earth where they actually become real. So he'll be like, I made a little, a Spartan pig, and then They send that to Earth, and it's like our size or a little bit bigger than us, and then they fight it in human form. When they morph, they fight him morphed. Then they're like, then Rita will go like, oh, he's losing. What make my monster grow? And then she throws her like moon staff, and it like lands on Earth, and then it makes
a lightning bolt happens.
Yeah, and then it makes the monster grow into gigantic form like Godzilla.
Yeah,
and then the Power Rangers then call their Zords. That's why they need their dinosaurs to fight every episode, and then they also usually turn into Megazord because they're losing as their single dinosaurs, and then they win as Megazord or whatever. So,
yeah.
And if they can't win as Megazord, then they call in whatever that fucking
the Brontos.
Yeah, the Brontos.
Or in this case, because there's a Green Ranger.
Brontozord.
Zordus. We should have looked that one up.
Whatever. Oh.
And the Green Ranger has his own special Zord.
Yeah, so the Green Ranger, they don't explain this, and this is why we're setting this up, because they just throw you into the middle of the end middle of the Green Ranger saga of this in this book.
Yeah,
this is the first volume of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. This is the first bone I have to pick with this. They just throw you into the now the Green Ranger's on our side, and the Green Ranger was evil previously. Rita had used a new coin that she had found or had, and corrupted it and made a Green Ranger, who was the most badass, awesome Ranger, I will say.
Yes, for sure.
Very cool. You know how he was cool? He had fucking shoulder pads. All right, so that made him way cooler than the other lame, non-shoulder padded Rangers. And he also had his own fucking Megazord size Zord. So it was called Dragon Zord, and he would call that Zord with his dagger flute. He had a dagger that he could also play as a flute. He'd blow into the side of it.
You know what's badass? A flute.
Yes.
As a
knife.
As
a
a
knife
flute, yes,
flute,
as a
right?
knife flute. As a flute player back in the day. I played flute for 4 years.
Flautist?
A flautist.
Yeah.
I played for 4 years.
I bet you.
You did.
John used to smoke a lot of flutes.
Wow. You don't know how badass the flute can actually be.
Yeah,
Ron Burgundy was right.
Blow a lot of flutes.
Oh my gosh. Hey,
what? I'm just.
If you want to blow a flute or a clarinet or play the drums, hit them drums. Yeah, you like banging on drums over there.
John, that's not a
anyway
not a euphemism for sucking dick. Anyway,
wow.
So anyway, this comic, first bone to pick of it. I was telling John, I am the audience for this book. I was a giant fan of this show as a kid, and I don't understand why they just start it in the middle of the Green Ranger saga.
What if you had never seen the show before? If you're like, I heard Power Rangers is cool, I will check out this comic and see if I get the gist of it.
Issue 1 will set up everything.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't, because this actually starts with issue 0, which you would think would even set it up more. And it doesn't. The first page of issue 0 is the Power Rangers looking like they're fucking dead, because there's like the Green Ranger's sword is sticking in the ground, almost looking like it's stabbing one of them. And then all of them are just, out on the moon. I mean, I was like, or wherever the fuck they fought. It looks like the moon, but, Rita's like, my Green Ranger, my prince, today is the day, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay. And then if it just cuts to now this guy that we, have been set up to see as, his name's Tommy, she calls him. As we see, he's like, beat up the Power Rangers or like killed them, we think, from this first page. I don't remember that. And then now they're friends. Now they're all in high school and they're friends together. And I'm like, wait, what was that first page and what is this page? Like, there's no in between of like what happened.
No, it's just him being like, I gotta go to school today, and like, the Red Ranger picks him up.
Yeah,
Jason. And
Jason the Red Ranger.
Yeah, and he's like, "You doing okay, man?" He's like, "Yeah, just I got like I can't get out of my head.
Got a headache." And he's remembering the fight that they all had when he was bad.
Yeah,
because Tommy was evil for a while, and it's kind of like the coolest, biggest storyline in the show. So yeah. I mean, like, I feel like they should have just started it at the beginning of that.
That literally should have been like, this first trade would, if they wanted to start anywhere, it was like, there's a team of teenagers, and where this hip new teenager who also becomes a Green Ranger.
Here's what you do. Here's what I would have done. Now, I am, not a comic book writer professionally or anything, maybe as a hobby, but like, but they definitely could have done the Green Ranger saga starting at issue 1, like at the beginning of that, and had Zero be like the setup for who is Rita, who are the Power Rangers, where did they get their powers, that guy kind of the say 40-second theme song of the show could have been this Zero issue. So that would have been nice. I don't know. I mean I know it, but like I want to see it in comic form, and also like I just feel like they could have expanded on it, because all we know is the 40-second intro. So they could have made like a cool, there's a lot of stuff to fill in there that you can just make cool lore.
How did Rita escape on the moon sewer?
What did it look like in the sewer moon or whatever? Like where was she being held? Is it like the end zone, or the phantom zone or whatever, where it's just kind of like, space where you're floating for all the time, or what is it? What is in there? Is it prison? Is it hell? Is it what? So that kind of thing. Like they could have expanded the lore. Now maybe they do later on in the series, but I just think that should have been like Zero issue as that. Then and the whole time in my head I'd be like, and
again it sets up her being like, oh man, she escaped some kind of prison. Like, oh, she's bad. Like she was bad that she was in a prison.
We get who she is, or in this you're just like everything. You remember that show you watched when you were 5 or whatever, and I'm like, yeah, I do, but like also let's expand on the lore a little bit or something. I don't know. So I was just kind of like, okay. And then we get like the kind of crux of this whole storyline is so Tommy is new, was a new kid. He's been there for a couple months now.
Yeah, a couple months.
And he has gone from evil enemy to that where the Rangers had to fight him to
newest member
of the Power Rangers, and they're not sure if they fully trust him yet.
Yeah.
Some do more than others, and some don't. So like Zach, the Black Ranger, is also like very against him being on the team, or like he's the most vocal about like, we don't know who the fuck this guy is. Like he just showed up 2 months ago. We don't know who he is. We didn't know where he comes from. He says he's been all over the world or whatever, but we don't know who he is.
We had to fight him.
Yeah. And then like all of a sudden he's just like, oh, I'm okay, guys, don't worry. And we're like, yeah. And then like Jason, who's the leader, he's the Red Ranger. He's like, I want to trust him, and I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt, but also I don't trust him, kind of thing. But he's like, if Zordon, also they don't set up who Zordon is or anything. So like you were saying, like, why is this blue face talking?
Who's this giant blue face in this tower that talks to them, this little base?
So Zordon, is at the Power Rangers base, and he's like the Wizard of Oz face.
Exactly, that's perfect description.
And he's like he's a being in like a phantom zone or whatever that can transmit his person to them. And he's like their leader. He's telling them, he's like, watch out, there's evil coming. And I have a bad feeling about this, Rangers. He's just like their,
and then,
was it Oracle?
Basically. Yeah, and then they have like an annoying trusty robot that's there too. Alpha 5.
I was kind of surprised he did not say I.
Yeah.
That would have been funny. But he doesn't even say that. Yeah. I don't know if they didn't do that because, I don't know, like just it's lame or something on the comic. But there were things I liked about this comic that I was like, yes. And things I was like, why are you doing that?
Why did they do that? Yeah.
But I did like, one thing that I did like is they do update everything. So all the kids, it is modern day-ish. So it's somewhere between 2008 and 2017 because this got printed in 2017. Also, I should say, the writing is done by Kyle Higgins, who he did like Nightwing when I like in the mid 2000s when I was working at the comic book store. So he's definitely like kind of a bigger writer. I remember a lot of people liking that run, and then the artist is named
Henry Persetia.
Yeah. Which I thought the art was pretty fantastic.
Yeah, the art was great in this.
So also the covers.
The covers were
of these books were like if I'd had no idea what this book was about, other than I grew up with the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, and I walked into the store and I saw that cover, and then I opened the book and was like, oh, the inner art's good too. And I saw the Green Ranger and shit, I'd be like, I am buying this. So that is pretty much, I would have bought it probably just on the cover being badass, because the cover is them with like their weapons and everybody, looking ready to fight and shit. So
yeah, every cover.
Fucking lightning bolts, all this shit. Very cool.
Every cover of this is fantastic. They all feel like posters like that kids would have had on their walls. Like
if I was a kid, I definitely would have bought every issue of, they had like head, just the heads of each, or the helmets of each of the Rangers on each issue. And I definitely would have bought that variant and then had them all on my wall.
Oh, yeah.
Because that would be fucking awesome, and just frame them or whatever, So that's how you do variant covers, my friend. Especially for like what's it called? A property like this, where you're like, it's an IP that everybody already knows or whatever. So, but yeah, so the crux of this whole thing is that Tommy, was bad, is now good. Some of the Rangers don't trust them. Some of them are more trusting and are trying to be inviting, but they just Tommy's going through a lot because unbeknownst to them, the other Rangers, Tommy is actually seeing Rita in his head like all the time, and we don't know if it's Rita actually like
is like enchanting him magically, or
if it's just in his head, like self-doubt kind of thing. But more than that, maybe it is like some corruption that was like left over.
Yeah, maybe she has like a little hold on him still.
Yeah. They even talk about the coin that she made him from is like, the coin was originally a Ranger, and then she like corrupted it to make him or whatever, to make him evil.
Yeah.
So like maybe there is some corruption still in the coin that he's fighting.
Yeah, and they say there's specifically some kind of there's some kind of magic centered around him too, because was it chaos magic? Is they called it?
Yes, I don't know what they call it. They're just like, hey, because his origin is different than ours, because like he was made by Rita, like they put him in a scanner later on to see what's going on with him, and he like has this weird aura that doesn't look. Now, I will say, I wish they kind of made it weirder in that scene, because I was kind of like, so there's the Red Ranger's aura, and he just looks red, and then there's like spirit or like white lights on him, and I'm like, okay, and then I see the one with the Green Ranger. I thought looked fairly similar. There was a little bit of like crackling coming off of him, but I'm like, they should have made it like way more fucked up or something, you know? So like way more distorted or something, like fuzzy, or like his body's like out of alignment or some shit. I don't know. Something that described it better, that he was going through all this shit. But like I said, the reason why I don't know when this takes place exactly is because they talk about things like pushing notifications to each other. Like Billy the nerd, he's the Blue Ranger. He's like, hey, everybody, didn't you hear about that test? I pushed notifications to y'all about it. And they're like, you always push notifications. So everybody knows about the internet and this and everything. Everybody's got cell phones. But the cell phones they have look like fucking Blackberries. So I was like, is this 2009? Like, what is going on? I don't know. Like, is this pre-iPhone 2 or something? Because that Blackberry phone has not been... No kid would have that phone unless it was like 2009 or something. So, I was very surprised that they didn't have like an updated looking phone at least. So, especially since this came out in 2017. But either way, we get like in the Zero issue, like the setup of Tommy, and then we get the first like, battle. They're in school, and then like they're about to take a test, and then all of a sudden monster attacks, and they're like, everybody in the school's like, there's a monster attacking nearby. Everybody get in the gym or whatever. And they're like, oh, it's our turn. And this is the thing I fucking actually loved about this series that we read, this trade. Every issue where they do their transformation, it shows a whole page
when it's morphin time.
Yeah, when it's morphin time, and it actually, this is great because Jason actually says, "Everybody get ready, it's morphin time," and then you see the mastodon, pterodactyl, triceratops, saber-tooth tiger, tyrannosaurus, dragonzord, and so then they do their whole pose, and then like they're off to fight or whatever. And I was like, I fucking love that. So this page I would love to own. If they, if it was ever on sale and I could buy it, but it's probably worth like $10,000 or something. So, but yeah, I love this page a lot, and that's for all you who don't know. We will go through the characters. Zach, the Black Ranger, is Mastodon. Kimberly, the Pink Ranger, is the Pterodactyl.
Billy, the Blue Ranger.
Billy is Blue Ranger. He is Triceratops. Trini is the Yellow Ranger, and she is Saber-Tooth Tiger. And Jason, as formerly mentioned, is the Tyrannosaurus. He's the Red Ranger. And then Dragonzord is the Green Ranger. And he is the coolest, baddest motherfucker in the thing. So
by far.
And all you Jason fans can shut the fuck up about that. So so yeah, they're fighting this monster that is powered by like a gem that like it's like Rita made this monster just to get defeated, but it like basically had a gem inside of it that like I guess the Green Ranger awakened, then it gets power from the Green Ranger every time he fights or gets angry.
Something like that, yeah.
So like, yeah, basically this fight was like meant to lose, but it was meant to get its power kicked off and started of this crystal, because the Green Ranger fights him and then it like kicks off and starts. So kicks off this crystal, like sucking the energy from him or whatever. So yeah, and this is where we also get like, oh, Jason gives orders and he's the leader, obviously, and Tommy, the Green Ranger, is like, I got an idea, and then he like attacks this thing first, which is what powers that crystal after he defeats him. And then also we see Tommy's getting all fucked up because in his head Rita's like, you're no good,
you're not good enough,
they don't like you, like what if you fuck up or whatever, and then that makes him fuck up and he freezes because like I guess the Zords are like connected to your brain or whatever as well. So like if you're having trouble or you know if you're having emotional issues, your Zord is also having emotional issues. So like it will not function correctly in battle. So basically Dragon Zord accidentally hits the bridge, collapses the bridge for all intents and purposes, doesn't kill people. I guess Kimberly saves like the people that are falling.
Yeah, she breaks away,
which I thought that was cool. Okay, so one thing about this comic that you never got from the show is, and this is what I was excited about when I read this, is you never saw them break apart after they were Megazord and like do anything with their dinosaur,
Yeah, once they
Zords.
became the Megazord, like that, they fought the monster and that was it. And it's usually fast from there because
they usually pull out his sword and it'd be like, and you're done.
That's the end of it's the end of the episode. The budget's been spent. We just need to slice the bad guy once again.
And if you don't know, this show is actually, what they did was they took an old Japanese show. I don't know what it was called. It wasn't called Power Rangers, I don't think.
Yeah.
And then they intercut action scenes from that show where everybody's covered head to toe in their costumes. They're like, Mighty Morphin Power Ranger costumes. And so you couldn't tell who was who, but you just saw the colors. Then they intercut that with white high school kids, or like not white kids, but like high school kids from Southern California.
Because in this too, they also do the thing that the first season did that now looking back I was a little like the Black Ranger is a black kid, the Yellow Ranger is the Asian girl. So it was like a little,
and the Pink Ranger's also a girl.
They
definitely were stereotyping some people, I think, in that. But
speaking of the colors of the actual Rangers, though, I do have to say this is almost as bad as like the Superman taking his glasses on and off that people don't know, because like the town is always like at the end they're accepting like, oh, thanks Rangers, and like, oh, we wish we knew who they were, we could really thank them or whatever. Yeah. And these kids are almost always in color coded,
the same color. They always wear their own colors.
Yeah, so like the Green Ranger Tommy is
always wearing green,
a green nice,
and
green
Jason
shirt on.
Always wears a sleeveless red shirt.
So they're always color coded to their Power Ranger suits too. So it's like, how does people not realize these 6 or 7 teenagers
are 6 or 7 of the Power Rangers? It's like, that's crazy.
I just thought it was funny. Like,
especially they introduced them later on, but Bulk and Skull, who were kind of like idiots and like bullies in the show, are actually updated as well, and they are like more of like they're not annoying,
kind of conspiracy YouTubers.
Yeah, they're just like low level, more about like what's going on in their town, conspiracy kind of stuff than like politics or whatever. But they are YouTubers who go around and just kind of do funny things or cause little like comedic things to happen. They're not so much bullies in this, which I actually liked that updated thing, because I thought they were just over the top, stupid, and annoying.
They were the bullies in the show that the very 90s bullies, where it'd be like, oh man, that he's a bully and he's fat. Well, we're gonna make fun of him, make fart noises,
every time he walks or whatever.
Yeah,
he's always hungry or whatever.
Exactly, stuff like that.
So I like that they updated it. But yeah, anyway, back to this fight. So Kimberly actually breaks off, and this is the thing you can do in comics. You can, if you have a budget, or you don't have to have a budget for this action that you're showing, you can do things like, oh, they break apart and she can save people while the rest of the Megazord continues to fight or whatever. And you could have, her Zord, her pterodactyl Zord, go save people. So she does that, saves the people on the bridge, and then afterwards they're like, what the fuck, Tommy? He fucked everything up. And he's like, oh, I am stupid. And then Rita's in his head like, You are.
Yeah. You are stupid.
You should just come back to me and I'll treat you right or whatever. You know, she's just in his head making him feel bad or whatever. So then that's kind of like the main thing, the Zero issue. And then the setup of Rita has to send one of her, what's her name? Scorpina. Who was a henchman I didn't remember, but John did.
I like vaguely, like the name and outfit
I'll say
looks.
Hence person. We'll be
person, yeah. Looked kind of familiar. Yeah, because like this one had all the main ones at some point in this. You've got Finster's, the guy who makes the monsters out of clay. Then you had you had Goldar for a tiny bit.
For a tiny second. Who I was like, what? Goldar I actually liked a lot when I was a kid. Like I thought his design was cool.
Yeah.
I kind of, you know, I want to know. It would be cool
Goldar
to, like,
was one of the ones. I liked his voice because he would like,
Ranger.
Yeah, I liked his voice, and then he was cool looking. He kind of looks like what are they called?
He looks like an Egyptian. Like he's got like the Wonder Woman suit on from the new movie.
Yeah,
basically, and then he looks like the god of Anubis, like Anubis.
Yeah,
what he's supposed to be, I think.
And yeah, exactly. I was trying to remember Griffin. There you go. That's what I think. That's kind
Griffin. A Griffin. I got.
Yeah, I think kind of modeled there for that. And then you had Babu and Squat. That's the blue.
Yes, I forgot about
the blue guy with the underbite.
It's basically the bulk and skull of Rita.
Of Rita's, yeah, exactly. That's perfect.
But they were still as silly, not as bumbling, but they were still fun. I thought. So she sends Scorpina to pick up the crystal that is now was in the river or whatever. After this fight, and then she's like, yeah, now it's all charged from that Green Ranger fighting this monster. Now it starts the charge. So this thing has to build up energy. So that's like the whole crux of this thing. Basically, they're just trying to get Rita's trying to get Tommy to fight so that this crystal will get charged, and then they can do something with it.
Yes. We don't know what yet.
We don't know what. And I'll just say it right now. This fucking thing ends before you really find out what the fuck that is. Like, I mean, it does show what, comes from it, but it's also like...
But they'll be like, it comes from it, and then you're like, to be continued.
Yeah, and then it's like...
They leave you on the cliffhanger.
And it's like, what the fuck? So, it's basically, that's what it is. Like, the whole crux of this storyline is just Tommy's going through issues with Rita in his head. Is it real? Is it not real? Is it corruption, or is it just in his mind, or what is this? Is it magic or something? What does this hold over him that she has? And then the Power Rangers arguing between themselves, like, how is Tommy?
Can we still trust Tommy?
Can we trust him? Could we trust him in the first place? Maybe he's just a secret agent now, a double agent.
Yeah, Trini and Kimberly seem to be on board with them.
And Billy.
Billy. Yeah, Jason's kind of
Billy's just going with the girls. He's like, I think so too, girls. You guys, we should hang out
Billy.
more. We should. No, he's going like the friend way. He's getting in the friend zone. He doesn't know it, but he's friending now. Although Trini looked like Billy and Trini were going to get together in this, and I was like, yeah, you go, Billy. You impress her with your math skills, Billy. So yeah. I appreciated that, but yeah, and also they also hint that Kimberly and Tommy might be a thing later on, which they never really had relationships in the show.
No, you kind of always got that she definitely was definitely hitting on Jason or the Red Ranger at first, and then Tommy came along. She was like, oh, he's a cooler Ranger, so
and he is. So.
Yeah, so yeah, she moved on to him, and yeah, they kind of there are moments where they would kind of seem like their hugs were a little more intimate hugs, or put hands on shoulders and stuff, but that's about it that I remember, and I feel like it never really got deeper than that from the show.
Yes, yeah, the show. This kind of just hints that in the future there might be things to write stories about or whatever. But as far as normally we go issue through issue and tell you what's happened, but in this comic it kind of is just high school kids talking, and them going through, they're like, is Tommy bad or good? And then Tommy being like, I feel Rita talking in my head, and then it's time to fight that thing, and then they fight, and then then they're like, I don't know, Tommy really didn't have a place or whatever. So it's like I don't know if we need to go through everything in each issue, but basically, like I said, the crux is Rita will send people to attack them just to get Tommy to fight so that the green crystal can get charged more and more until eventually they will get charged 100%.
Yeah.
So, or it will get charged 100%.
I did.
There are some things we're going to touch on. I think you were just about to say this.
I did like that they had like a Kobayashi Maru type situation for Tommy to kind of really, I guess, again, see where he is.
I'm sorry, say that again. What's a Kobayashi Maru?
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I nerd out a little
fuck
too
are
much
you
there?
talking about?
So they have like a simulation chamber, like a danger room, like the X-Men.
Is it like the Eye of Cerberus? What are you,
But
wait. What is this reference you're talking about?
Shut up.
No, I don't know what
you know what I'm talking about.
I don't know. What's Kobayashi Maru?
So they have what would reference would be the Kobayashi Maru, which for non-Star Trek fans,
I have no idea what you're talking. Oh wow, okay. This is a Trekkie thing.
it is. There is a simulation which is a no-win scenario situation. It's like you have to save people and you have to worry about your crew and yourselves. And like, so how do you are people that aren't with you?
How do you mitigate?
Yeah,
damage,
exactly.
basically? Okay.
Yeah,
and you can't really ever win 100%.
Exactly. Yeah, like something bad is going to happen. So how do you get the best outcome out of it?
Yeah.
And
they put Tommy through one of these scenarios. I guess there's like a training room in the base of the Power Rangers, and in order to like kind of now Tommy's in the group, and they're like, we need to train you as a team because you're not really like a team player yet.
Yeah.
Like what you should train in these simulations so you feel like you're gonna know how to fight in a team better or whatever. So.
Yeah. And of course, well, in this, he chooses one. He's like, I failed, and they're like, that's the point. It was to see which way you would.
No, I will win. And
yeah,
like, Tommy, we just said Zordon literally just said if you had gone down this way,
you would.
Those people would have died from
too.
being smashed by a monster.
Yeah,
and you went down this way, and the putties killed everybody. So, and we should say the putties are like the. The putties are Rita's like first line of henchmen.
They're like the pawns.
They're pawns, and they every episode always had her being like, "My putties, go!" And then like
I feel like it was just to slow down, so maybe he could finish making the big monster out of clay.
I don't know,
because
but then
the putties like they're as long as they're definitely morphed.
I can do the sound effect.
Oh, I can.
So that basically they all sound like that, and they all just jump around, and they're in like gray suits.
And when they punch them, it sounds like clinking metal, like clink.
Yeah, which
clink.
doesn't make any sense because they're made of
they're putty. But
and then also, like they just when you hit them, they spark. Sparks. And that was in the show, right? You need to show how if they get hit. So in the show, they would have sparks. In this, it would be fun if they had sparks, but also if they actually showed like some sword contact or whatever with them, or
like a putty. Because if they're putty,
cut them fuckers in half.
Yeah, you don't have to show blood. You would just show like you would show like.
You know what would be cool is if you did that and then they could like form. They just
two putties,
little putties, or something
tinier.
Like more. They look like a Hydra or something. Like you cut one in half and then you get two, and then like or whatever.
That
like,
could be fun.
Make them more menacing or some shit. Maybe that happens later on, but not in this first thing. I was telling John, I was like, I want to see putty intestines, just those gray fake, clay intestines getting cut out, some viscera. That's all just gray. It doesn't have any blood or anything.
Yeah, so that way it's not like graphic. It's,
yeah. But I want to see the actual like organs. But I mean, they have weapons and they fight in this, but it never really gets to any levels of violence. And I thought that was kind of weird because I don't think this is an all ages title. There's violence and kind of attention in it or whatever. So I'm thinking it's probably like a 12 plus or something, or maybe like an 8 plus. So I'm like, you could show like swords hitting putty, like I'm not talking about people, but like the Zords. When the Zords fight or whatever, I don't know. I was telling John, I'm like, I've been reading too much Berserk. This fight scenes were kind of lame. so
no, because I even felt that too. I was like, yeah, like we were saying, like for a comic not having to have a budget, they could have gone a little more in depth in the fights as far as like they could have extended them a little more. When they have the Zords, they could have done a little. They could have shown a little bit more of that fighting, and they kind of stuck to more of the way the show is, which I get. If that's what that you're appealing to that too, but you're in comics.
There was a lot of high school talking in this.
Yeah, there was a little.
They could have definitely cut down on the high school talking and shown more like badass fight scenes.
You could
or at least
had,
a couple issues,
Yeah,
especially when they're like Morphin Power Rangers, and then do like 2 pages of fighting, and then maybe the Zords don't have to fight as badass or something. I don't know, but like. I don't know. You could do like martial arts stuff, or like they have weapons too, so maybe do some cool weapon shit or whatever. They never do that in this, and I was always like,
yeah, they pull out weapons once, and like And
they use it to deflect a putty, and then like that's it. And
yeah.
like, why don't you cut the putty in half with your axe, Zach? He's putty. You know, just hit him with your axe. It's like, and it's also a gun. Shoot him with your fucking axe gun. It's like, oh, that's the other thing. There's so many like levels of like, oh, what danger are we fighting? Let's do this thing.
Is it hand-to-hand combat?
So they have hand-to-hand.
Our little guns.
Then they have little guns. Then they have bigger weapons, and then they have the weapons
melee,
joining.
Yeah, they're melee and also some kind of gun weapon.
Yeah, but then they have those melee weapons can also join and become a badass more together, like a Zord gun, basically.
Yeah, basically.
Like a small transformer gun. And then that usually can defeat things too.
It's like a super cannon, yeah.
Yeah, and then you escalate to we got to call our dinosaurs, then we got to Megazord it, whatever. So, I like that. I like that they have to up the ante depending on the situation. So they could have done that, like a structure where you don't. And also in the show, they always would escalate every episode to the Megazord. Well, in this, I would have it like maybe this one didn't need that. Maybe like she fucked up or whatever or something. So. Like, or like in this one, Scorpina gets sent to fight Tommy just to like start the juices flowing to this crystal, and Tommy has to take her. He just like transports her with his what's it, like he's got like a
the basically the coin the belt buckle is also a transporter.
Yeah, so he transports her to the middle of the woods or whatever. And then they have this fight, and it's kind of like. I don't know. I just thought like, oh, that would be a perfect time for them to use, I don't know, their fucking gun weapons because they have them and, or just their weapons in general or whatever. Let's show what they can do that we could never show in the actual TV show.
Yeah, they're fighting, but then she calls a bunch of putties come. So it's just Tommy with a bunch of putties. He definitely could have, like, I think he does take out his dragon dagger at one point, but like you don't really.
But he doesn't use it.
Yeah.
Does he? Oh no. Does he actually cut off? No, I don't think he uses it for anything. I think he just. Sorry, I'm getting once again Berserk. I'm getting confused from Berserk that I was reading. But yeah, I don't think he ever uses the dagger other than just to call Dragonzord.
It's more, when he pulls it out, it looks like more maybe it's to block once or something, but it's not like he doesn't use it as an actual dagger.
Yeah, no, he never does that. So, but once again, like whenever someone transforms, I am fully like, yeah, because I hear the music in my head. So there definitely is something in this book that speaks to me. It just never went to where I wanted it to go. And it always just felt kind of like not pushing the things I want to see in a comic. Like I said, there's a lot of talking. There's like a whole scene where, and I was like, why is the scene in here? But like, there's a scene where Jason teaches, he's getting done with his karate lessons because he teaches karate to like the Y or whatever. And like, him and Kimberly are talking about that. And I'm like, okay. And then like the sensei of the gym comes up and is like, hey Tommy, or hey Jason, you and Tommy should train. He's like, oh, I don't know about that. And so like it's just kind of like, well, I mean, you could have that be like 4 panels or something instead of like 3 pages of dialogue or whatever. Like, and have the scene before be a little bit longer of fighting cool shit or whatever, I don't know. It just seemed like why that doesn't need to be here. Why don't we have like more fighting going on kind of thing. But yeah, so like Scorpina has brought Tommy here Tommy brought Scorpina into the woods after she attacked him. And then the Power Rangers somehow know where he is. I guess Zordon's like, he's here in the woods.
Yeah.
Kimberly and Jason transport there while they're talking in that little gym or whatever. So I guess that's why you needed to show them. But they could have just had like 5 panels of him teaching the class and maybe getting called and then.
Yeah, it was a lot more.
It's like 2 pages of talking. And I was like, okay, right in the middle of this fight, because they cut to that and then go back to the fight. So it was kind of like, okay, that didn't need to be there. And then Zach shows up too, and he's got his axe, to which I was like, yeah. And then he doesn't do anything. He just literally blocks a putty with it a little bit.
Whoa!
And then like, let's get out of here. Let's run. We don't have any way to fight these guys. And so yeah, it just kind of like nothing really happens in these fights, and I was just always kind of like disappointed until finally at the end of that issue, Tommy, like they're all arguing with Tommy, like, what's going on? How come you were in the middle of the woods with Scorpina? Like, I don't know, like they're like went into the woods to talk secretly and him give her information or something.
Even though they were fighting when they showed up.
Yeah, exactly. And then like Jason's like, you need to tell the truth. And he's like, I am telling the truth, bro. Nothing's wrong. And then like Tommy just passes out because he's like so torn in his mind or whatever with Rita talking to him. And so this is like kind of the most annoying thing about this comic, I thought. You get the one appearance of Goldar, which I thought was lame. He's in some like weird room, which I remember when he was in this room.
Yeah.
After he failed getting the Green Ranger, I was like, oh yeah, he was in like, solitary confinement because Rita was mad at him. But like, I would have liked to have seen him in the comic more or whatever,
Yeah,
So,
but that's all they did. They were like, hey, Goldar, like, it's okay, you'll get out of here eventually. And he's like, I don't know if I ever will. And then that's it.
And that's it. And so, yeah. And then Tommy's having dreams or whatever. But basically, Zordon, he wakes up. Tommy wakes up in the middle of the room after he faints, and everybody's like, what the fuck was that? And he's like, I just haven't been feeling right, guys. And like, so then he kind of tells them, I don't know if he tells them right away. Yeah, he tells them right away that he's seeing Rita in his head. And like, she's been talking to him, and they're like, oh my God, is this some kind of magic? Or is she like making you betray us again? Or what's going on? If you're like losing time or, having weird dreams, you don't know what's hallucination and what's real, then you can't really fight with us because you have a Dragon Zord that is the size of a skyscraper, and I can't have you seeing not reality and shooting us or shooting people or blowing up.
You have rockets that shoot out of the fingertips. Yes. You have like a drill tail.
Yeah, and so like, you're going to destroy something on accident and you're going to be sad about that. So that's basically like they're telling him that and he's all sad. He's like, no, I'm fine, I swear. And they're like, no, you're not. And so they put him in this machine, which I've never seen before, but apparently it's like MRI machine, but for your
Power Ranger spirit MRI.
Yeah. So, this is where you see the like chakra of, Tommy and how it looks different than everybody else's. Cause I guess they scanned everybody at some point. Cause like, here's Jason's scan. Look at it. And it's like a perfect, like red,
same color as their Zord.
Yeah, that's what their color is in the MRI machine. So, but the Green Rangers one has like little lightning crackles in it or whatever. Yeah. So, once again, I thought they could have shown that a lot more distorted to show visually. This is a visual medium. How fucked up he is feeling inside or whatever,
And they did this twice. So like he fainted and then he has like a dream with Rita or whatnot. And then he wakes up and they're like, okay. And then they do this scan on him. And while he's getting scanned, there's
another vision or whatever.
Yeah, but we didn't know that right away. It was like there's rumbling, like what's going on outside, and like the Dragon Zord's outside going crazy when they're like, oh no.
And then Alpha, I knew it was a dream when Alpha, the robot, that's like the butler or whatever in the he's that's
Alfred. Perfect. He's the butler.
Alfred. And he gets smashed by Dragon Zord. I was like, there's no way this is real. You're not killing Alpha in the first fucking story arc or whatever. Yeah. And so they transform in this little thing while the Dragon Zord's attacking, and Tommy pulls out he's like, I got it, don't worry, I'm gonna use my flute to make the Dragon Zord calm down. And then he tries to do it and the Dragon Zord doesn't give a fuck, and then the issue ends with him getting about to be eaten by it kind of thing. And then there's like the cut to diner. We don't see what happens, but then cut to diner, and they're like, it's the rest of the Rangers talking like, I think Tommy is too fucked up to fight with us, basically.
There's still that's what they're going on. I mean, for good reason, but it's still just like
it's either at lunch,
my gosh,
or it's at a diner, or it's talking through the halls. But there's a lot of high school talking, kind of thing. So, and then then we cut back to Zordon, and this is where he shows, I guess Tommy woke up and was like, that was a fucking crazy dream. I thought all you guys died, or like the Alpha died, and like this whole place got fucked up by Dragon Zord. He wasn't paying attention to me. And like basically it's kind of a flash forward or like a premonition of what's going to happen, because along with the crystal that is now basically almost fully charged, Rita has made a fake dagger to call the Dragon Zord with like a fake flute dagger, the one that Green Ranger has. So she's like, it won't last very long, but it'll last long for us to control the Dragon Zord for a while, and then like we'll charge this gem all the way up while we cause all this chaos in the Dragon Zord. So that's like the plot of this whole thing, is just, like I said, trying to charge this fucking gem with Green Ranger juju. And so they do that. Then it's morphin time. Then Rita's controlling the Dragon Zord, so they have to fight the Dragon Zord. I did okay, so we did get a little bit of what I was talking about, where like I said, they get to show what they do with their single Zords, like we said, Kimberly flies away with her pterodactyl to save people. Well, in this, they come at Dragon Zord, and they come separately at first, and you see the Triceratops shoot his like horns at Dragon Zord and pull him away from the island or whatever they're on. I don't know where the fuck they are.
Angel Grove, sir.
Where the fuck is it? It's California, I
guess.
And so
I did like that because it's like they were like on a chain, so it like wraps him up and pulls off. I was like, that's kind of cool.
And I remember that from the show. Like he would
that.
shoot his horns, and it would like, but like it just looked lamer in the show because it was like shitty models or whatever.
Yeah.
And this is like looks way cooler, and like Billy, was getting it done. He was like pulling fucking Dragon Zord with his Triceratops. I was like, hell yeah, Billy. And then she sends a shark, or Rita sends like a shark monster to fight them, and then they like are the mammoth is fighting the shark, and so you get a little bit of them fighting their separate Zords. Then they're like, I don't know if we can handle this. It's Morphin time, or it's Megazord time, or whatever. And so they Megazord it up, but they left Tommy behind because they're like, you are a liability. You can't fight.
Stay here, yeah.
And then Tommy, this is like a part I thought was like bullshit. So Tommy is sitting there and he's like, man, I feel like I'm on the sidelines. And like Rita's like, you are on the sidelines. They don't trust you. And he's like, no, they're my friends. You're just in my head. She's like, no, I'm not. I'm like, I'm like all over, and I'm corrupting you, and you're totally fucked up or whatever. And he's like, no, I'm not. I'm not fucked up. You're not real. Clap if you believe in fairies or whatever. And then when they do that, or when he does that, all he has to say is, but you're still just me. You're just myself disliking myself.
No.
Then when he realizes that, she just goes away.
Yeah, he like walks through the image of her and it just like dissipates.
And I'm like, so the
whole time
it was just you being like, you couldn't go to like a school counselor or some shit, or talk to Zordon about this shit.
Yeah, it seems like if he would have talked to someone about it, he would have gotten over it a lot. But that's the teen thing, holding it in, not feeling.
Well, I don't know, do drugs or something like a normal teen.
I know I sympathize with this because if I would have,
but if it should be harder than that. It was literally 2 panels of him discovering, all I got to do is not like, this is just myself,
because he's been putting up with it for so long.
I guess, but like, I don't know.
It's when you have that epiphany, you make that realization, like, no, I can do it. I am the best.
Have you ever had that happen, John?
No.
It takes a lot longer than 2 panels. I'll say that, all right? I have had that epiphany, and it takes a lot longer than 2 panels. So, but yeah, I guess for expediency of this storyline, they're just like, he gets over it real fucking quick. So he gets over his mental break, and then he's like, I can go now. Don't worry, Zordon. I'm fine. And he's like, I don't know if you should. He's like, no, don't worry.
Don't worry. It's Morphin time.
I know. I just fainted, and you saw I was all fucked up in that scan and everything. But like, it was just all in my head. And I just talked to myself, and now I'm all solid. So I know you don't know that because there's no way to prove that or anything. But
trust me.
I'm real. And so he Morphin times it. Yes. It's yeah, you get the guitar solo, all that shit. Then we cut back to the battle, and all the Zords are fighting this shark and everything, and then Dragon Zord, and Tommy flies in, lands on top of the head of Dragon Zord, and he tries to play his song with his flute, and it doesn't do anything. Like, the Dragon Zord's like, fuck you. And he's like, oh no, like the evil flute's overriding him or whatever. So basically, Jason's like, get out of here. Like, you're not welcome here, baby. He's carrying the Hendersons in. He wants him to get out of there.
Get out of here.
Yeah, no one wants you. But yeah, he's like, you're too fucked up. He's like, don't worry, guys. I talked to myself about it, and myself and me both decided that we were good.
Me, myself, and I, we're good.
Yeah. All of the me's inside of me are copacetic now, so don't worry. And so, Tommy just disobeys and then punches through the glass of Dragon Zord's eye, which I was imagining he would be like, because, they've already established that the Zords feel pain and shit, right? They're like emotionally connected and stuff. So he punches through the eye of Dragon Zord, and then is able to defeat Scorpina, who's inside of him. And all that nonsense. And I don't know, they just fight and then they win.
And the Megazord comes together in the meantime of that. Megazord activated.
And then everybody's pissed at Tommy at the end because they're like, what the fuck? We told you not to come. He's like, you don't understand. I had an epiphany and I'm cool now or whatever. And they're like, but there's no way for us to know you're cool.
He's like, yeah, but look at this. There was this other dagger. There's a crystal in it, and I broke him. And, like, everything's better now, see? Because I defeated the Scorpina.
Yeah.
She had this.
Yeah, basically that's how he defeated Scorpion. I forgot. He threw the dagger on the ground or whatever and it broke.
Yeah, he broke the dagger.
It was that cheap toy dagger. That's what that's what it was. And so, but the crystal is still there intact, and it's greener than it has been before ever because all that energy from him fighting for good, causes it to
And now it's right around them, and they're fighting within each other.
They're just arguing,
arguing.
But just that little bit of tension makes it go over the edge. And it blows up inside of, and it totally blows the shit out of the whole base that they're at, and they're like, "What the fuck was that?" And then we get the big bad who comes and is like, "Hello, Rangers. I've been looking forward to destroying you for some time. Who wants to go first?" And then it's like, "To be continued." And you're like,
and it looks
what
like,
the fuck?
Yeah, I mean, and it's weird because it kind of looks like it would be like one of Rita's big creatures, but I guess it was part with the crystal and part with whatever. Like I know that she asked Finster to do something,
right? But we don't know what. They didn't explain it.
Yeah, they didn't explain it well.
All they said was the crystal just needs to get charged. They didn't say it was going to turn into something or release something, or they needed to throw some of that exposition in there so we know. Oh, we're waiting for this big bad to come out. She could say once 100 years ago, my henchman got trapped in here, and he needs this energy to break free. And,
that's all you. That's all you
throw
have to
that
say.
fucking line in there, and I believe it, or whatever. That's all you got to say. They did not do that. So, then this guy appears, and then it's like, to be continued, and that's it. That's this first story arc of this thing. I was just like, what the fuck? You just left it hanging. This feels like it should be. So we fought Scorpina in Dragonzord. That seems like it was the middle arc or whatever. You know what I mean? Like. That should have been the middle, issue.
That did not feel like an ending arc.
Then this guy shows up, and then they have to pull out the big guns, and they fight together, and then they, make Tommy part of the team officially, and everybody's cool. That's how it should end. What the fuck? That's not how you end a story arc. So I was mad about that in this. Very mad, as you can tell. Swearing and all kinds of shit. Throwing shit at stuff. So, but yeah. So.
They ruined your Power Ranger.
Ruined my Power Ranger day. But, I mean, I was very much like, I'm into it, but I'm not into this. Like they're giving me some stuff I like, and then there's a lot of other shit I'm just like, whatever. Like, let's move on to the, other stuff. So they did some character building that I liked. Like, there was a lot of talking, but some of it was good. Like, you should have scenes where they got to build the characters a lot more than the show would. Because the show would just be basically what are we having for lunch today? I don't know. Tommy's being weird. Yeah. Oh, putties or whatever, So there wasn't a lot of character buildup.
Yeah.
But in this, you got to see, Billy go into the Dragonzord to figure out if Tommy is fucked up because of something in the Dragonzord, and him and Trini are working in there, and that's where they get their little no, I think you're cool, Billy. And he's like, oh, really? I'm pretty smart. Yeah, I guess you're right. I am smart. And whatever. Just you get to see a little bit more of their character development, which you never really saw on the show. And I was like, oh, this is cool. You get to see where they're coming from more than just Black Ranger, Green Ranger, White Ranger, whatever they are. So you don't really learn anything about the personalities other than they wear the same clothes colors everywhere, whatever their Rangers colors.
They all can fight.
And they have an archetype.
They all can,
Kimberly is the cheerleader, preppy one, and then
Billy's the nerdy one.
Trini is also nerdy, but less nerdy than Billy. And Zach is cool. He dances and shit.
Yeah.
And then Jason is just
he's the leader. He's the brutish leader.
He's serious, all right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the leader. He's the Leonardo or whatever, Yeah. So.
Come on, guys, we got to work together.
And then Tommy's just fucking cool.
That's one thing I missed in the comic that we didn't get in the show.
They did say hey in this.
Yeah, but it wasn't the same.
It was only once or twice.
Yeah. Every time in the show that they would jump around or throw something or hit somebody, it'd be like,
yeah, I can only imagine what most of the because like we said, they had to dub a Japanese show in the fight scenes. So it would be
See
like
these kids in the
all these kids are just
booth.
even like, just doing this thing. And it had to be the same actors so that their voices sounded the same. So it must have been fun. Must have been
all right, guys, we can do this.
Yeah. And then you just see like the helmets turn. That's how they talk to each other or whatever. So it was a genius idea, but this comic could have been so much more than it is. But it is a giant hit, like with people who like the series. I don't know if it just gets more badass. Like maybe this was like where it started and it gets incredibly better. But as if this is where it started, I was kind of let down.
Yeah, it was a mediocre. It was like you got a little bit of nostalgia, but it wasn't enough to be like. It made me more want to be like, I want to go back and watch like some episodes.
Let me go watch the show. Yeah,
liking then. Yeah, because I didn't get enough of what I was hoping for.
Right, and I was also like, I don't want to read like lunchroom scenes more. Or like I don't know if it continues like this, I'll just kind of get bored with it. Is what I kind of thought. And especially if they leave every story arc unfinished, that was annoying. Like just fucking at least add another 2 issues and finish the arc or whatever.
Yeah, they literally didn't finish any arc. Like we still don't know where Tommy is with the team. We still we didn't finish a bad guy. We don't know what Rita's
The only arc they
plan.
finished was the guy and why the crystal needed to be charged.
Yeah, I guess
this guy pops out. That's it. Other than that,
but we don't know why. We don't know what Rita's full intention is.
Other stuff closed off or finished from like it would have been nice if at the end of this day at least the team was together.
Yeah,
because I'll take the big bad showing up in that crystal at the end. Without the closure with that, if the team was finished, wrapped up together, like, and they're like, Tom, you are one of us.
But now they have to find another big bad and still not know if they're all on the same page.
Yeah, so it seems kind of weird that this is the end of the first story arc, and then especially since it's not like this was like a continuing saga of that. They started in the middle of the Green Ranger saga anyway, so it's like we didn't get the beginning and we didn't get the end. We just got like the weird middle.
Yeah, it's
part.
True. And again, like if you're trying to remember from the show, like, oh yeah, you remember the Green Ranger's cool, but like this also doesn't give you enough to emotionally invest in the Green Ranger as well, because you don't see him have that full, like you don't see him go
unless you already watched the show and you love the Green Ranger. I don't see why you would give a fuck about what's going on.
Yeah, we have a love of it because we vaguely remember enough from the show to be like, Green Ranger was awesome. He was my favorite when I was a kid. I remember he was bad, then he went good. And like, so we have the basis of that. But in this, it's like, okay, we know he went bad to good, but we don't know truly why or what was the thing that made him go good.
Yeah.
Like, we don't know any of that.
Yeah. So I just felt like they left a lot of stuff out. They left some of the fight scenes. Like, at least if you weren't going to have that closure, you could have had like really badass fight scenes to take place of that. And they didn't really do that either. So there was some stuff, but like I wanted to see more. So, and like I said, if you're fighting putties, they're just made of putty. So there's no reason why an all ages comic couldn't have their limbs getting cut off and shit. And same with the Zords. If you're gonna have the Zords fight, they're just Zords. So show them getting fucking torn apart or whatever. Especially the monsters that they're fighting. The monsters could definitely get like, they're made of rocks or whatever, right? So like, or whatever they look like. Unless they're made of flesh and blood, most of these things are like look like rock monsters or whatever, Yeah,
so. Or if they're all made out of clay or whatever, like maybe when like something gets broken off, it turns back into clay or something. So you're like,
oh, don't worry, kids. Yeah, it's not that serious.
Exactly.
So I just thought it was kind of. It never hit anywhere I like close to where I wanted it to get as far as martial arts and all that kind of stuff and the action, and then there's a lot of talking. And there were some things that paid off. Like I liked some of the emotional buildup. I did like that in this, you got to see Rita talking to him, like Ghost Rita talking to his head. But then I didn't like that it wasn't anything other than him talking to himself. Like it wasn't actually Rita. They even say like, oh, is it like a spell or something? I would have preferred if he had to break the spell mentally, and then like Rita, it shows Rita like, no, he's fighting it or whatever, and then like. Him be like, get out of my head, Rita. And then like that, like maybe it is in his head, but it's also her.
Yeah,
and then
like partially
he has to fight her. And then once he breaks it, it makes sense why it's literally 2 panels of, oh, I'm over this now because it was a spell from her. But this just made it seem like, oh, he's got the PTSD. yeah, it's done. He's figured it out. Like, like he's got PTSD from doing horrible shit that he remembers that we don't see. They even say, like, do you remember everything? And he's like, yeah. And they're like, well, that's tough. It's like, what? What's tough? We didn't see any of that. It wasn't Nom. I don't know what the fuck. You didn't look that bad. You just kind of beat us up a little bit. But obviously we're still alive. So what'd you do that was so bad that gave you so much PTSD that you, like, destroy bridges when you're fighting in Dragonzord or whatever kind of thing. So, I don't know. On that note, John, we've aired enough of our grievances. What would you give this one?
So, it tickled the nostalgia bone enough, and the art was really good. The
art was fantastic. The covers,
the covers in particular, and like you said, there was enough to keep me interested at least. Sometimes it meandered, and sometimes it didn't quite go to where we hoped the action would. But overall, like, I enjoyed it. I probably wouldn't read it again, and I don't know if I don't know if I want to necessarily, like, see the continuation of this. Like,
if I've read every other comic that I have in line, and I'm like, what am I going to read today? And I'm like,
I guess maybe
this is free on Comixology Unlimited.
Yeah, maybe. But like nothing made me be like, I really want to know what happens next on this one. Like some of them that have surprised me have. This is a middle of the road. This is again.
Now remember, our middle book is Batman Hush. That was our original, and I think our only 5. We haven't given anything lower than that. I think
Batman is a 5.
Batman Hush was a 5.
Batman Hush is a 5. Oh, see, now that you said that.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to bring that up, because we don't think we've ever given anything lower than that.
Well.
And that's like this is a readable comic, but it wasn't anything special to us necessarily. There was cool things, but then we had a lot of issues. But it was like, there was a story though,
Well, you heard it here first, folks. This is the first one that, and Matt would testify with this, especially if you've been listening along. Matt's like John likes everything, and John just gives everything high marks, which I do a lot. I'll be honest, I do.
I think you're more discerning on the comics though than you are on movies.
Movies and stuff, yeah. Maybe
TV shows.
But I will say, without further ado, this is below Hush for sure, because at least Hush, like, the story is like complete and like serviceable, and like there's some
Batman.
parts,
there's some cool shit in it,
And like while there was cool stuff, it was the cool stuff that made this like an okay
readable
book. I'm gonna give it a 4.
Yeah, I'm gonna give this one a 3.5 actually, because I got bored. It's 5 issues, and it took me like 4 hours to read it because I just fall asleep while they're talking at lunch or whatever, and I was just like, I don't care about this. And then, like I said, I don't know if it's because I'm reading Berserk or something, but like the fight scenes just weren't. I was just like, come on, like, do something.
So there you are. So you're putting it up against the other things you're reading, and
it's even worse for you because you're not.
Yeah, because like I'll read so Matt's comic reading for a week is like he reads the new stuff that comes out, and he keeps
I am always reading at least like 5. I have like 3 giant omnibuses I'm reading right now, and Berserk, and whatever we're reading for the podcast, and the issues I read every week.
To which my comic book reading weekly is obviously what we're reading for the podcast, and then leisurely maybe 2 to 3 issues of other things,
of stuff I've reviewed that you're like, hey, that's
maybe something Matt reviewed that was really good, or maybe something I'm like, oh, there's a new Star Wars I've never heard of thing, oh, what's the, like, Matt randomly got me Battle Pug.
Yes,
and it's a very
John likes pugs.
I like pugs, the dogs, and it was kind of random. I was like,
which has a nice trade actually. It's like a nice hardcover that's like this. It's like what's a 300 style book.
Oh, it's big.
Yeah, cool. It's giant. So it looked cool. When's your birthday, John?
We'll see. But yeah, so again, he's putting it up against that, and I'm putting it up as being a super casual comic book fan,
but also a Mighty Morphin Power Rangers fan.
But yeah, but like, like big enough, like to even now, like I bought a Megazord pop when that first came out. I was like, oh, that's freaking.
I have a Dragonzord.
Yeah, I know. I got you the Dragonzord. Yeah, like, and we're both like, yeah, those are really cool. Like that's nostalgia enough, and like that's something I would display, and I like that, and I have good memories of it.
Yeah.
And this just didn't hit the mark.
Yeah, I think story wise, if this had an ending, it would have got a 5.
Yeah.
I think if it had a complete, at least closure for the characters, even if it left it where it is after the crystal, I would have been okay and given it a 5 because it finishes, like it has like, and especially because it is 0 through 4 or whatever. So you should be able to write a full story arc in 4 issues, but there's even a 0 issue if you needed to explain anything about Rita or whatever that you're not putting in.
But they didn't
do that. So I just feel like they left a lot of stuff out and didn't take advantage of the space given in these issues. And for the hype that this has, like I said, there are people, respected, podcasters / YouTubers that I watch who are like, this is the best fucking comic. I fucking love it. I'm such a giant, nerd from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. And I am too, which is why I was excited to read this, which is why I suggested we read this. And I was deeply disappointed at the end of this. I was through the fucking, I don't have the book. We read it digitally. I was like, fuck you. Like, I was like, no, don't throw your Kindle, Matt. Like, like what? I was mad that this did not have an ending of any kind. And I was just like, what kind of bullshit is that?
Yeah, seriously, there's no.
And also, like, it's not like I haven't heard of this writer before, and it's the first thing they wrote or something. And this is a established comic book writer who wrote, at least 100 issues of comics, I think, because he wrote like a run of, like I said, Nightwing that went from like 1 to almost 100, and then same with other stuff he's written. So like, I just feel like it should have been better than it was. And, it just disappointed me. As you can see, 3.5 is pretty low. Like you said,
that's your lowest grade.
That's the lowest grade I've ever given, and it's simply because the storyline doesn't finish. And if I'm coming at this from like, obviously I could read more, but like I'm coming at this like if I was a brand new reader to never read a comic in my life, and I came into the store as the giantest Mighty Morphin Power Rangers fan. And knowing that comics don't have a budget, so, the show could only show so much fights and whatever, and they could only do so much in those fights. Well, a comic, you should be able to do all this crazy shit, And then, like, the story should at least fucking finish.
Yeah.
And,
there's one point I'll make on that is that we have read and have been doing this podcast for how long?
Yeah, almost over 2 years now.
And except for maybe a couple one-offs that like of like smaller issues that we did, or one that were like a multi-part that we did, like all of the comics for that first arc that we read or whatever arc that we read, like
they at least finish and
has something. Yeah. Whether if there's something bigger that happens because of it,
that's
that
why
may be set up.
That's why I was saying, okay, the crystal could be hanging because that's like a bigger arc.
Yeah.
But you have to at least have finished the emotional Power Rangers team setup or whatever. You know, like one of these things has to have closure.
All they had to end with was Tommy and Jason doing the like Spartan shake
son
hand,
of a
being
bitch.
Like, like, you know what? I didn't trust you, but like, and I know we can count on you now.
Yes, but like, just show some payoff for that. Like why he thought, like instead of, okay, he could. This is how it could have ended better. So he comes and saves the day. Jason, instead of fighting with him and saying, you should have listened to me, is like, hey, bro, I don't know what you've been going through, but it seemed like you got it together. You saved the day. Like, we still need to work on being a team, but like, we're a team, like, or something. Yeah. Like, he could have come at it like that at the very end, and then they could still have like disputes because we're not like 100% a team yet, but we at least crushed our beef and we're accepting you. And maybe Zach doesn't accept him or something, and that's like no, man, he's not okay or whatever, and leave that hanging. But you still have like Jason, who is the leader of the team, accepting him at least, kind of thing, just to close that at least somewhat. Like nothing. They don't do that. And like if I would, like I said, a fan who doesn't read comics, who's like, I'm going to try these comics out. Everybody's been talking about this Mighty Morphin Power Rangers comic, and I came in and I found the trade.
I paid $15 for this trade, and I'm like,
I pay $100, whatever. It's out of print. It's been out of print forever, and I found it on eBay for $400, and I bought it.
And I'm like, oh, nothing happened.
Yeah, 0 things happened in this first arc that really like make me want to continue to read it. Yeah, and it's kind of like I said, they just throw you into the middle of this thing too. So they could have done a really cool, expansive job of explaining some of the stuff that maybe they had to fuzz through in the TV show. With like who Tommy is, where he's coming from, how he got corrupted, all that kind of stuff. Like, I mean, I think in the show they just show him like getting captured, and then like Rita just does like some magic spell, and then that's why he's like a Loki thing where he just like touches his head or whatever. And now he's under the spell or whatever. But they could have expanded that more or something, or maybe Jason and him already have a rivalry or something, and that's why she sees it in him or something. I don't know. But like, either way, could have been done better.
When we rewrite the Power Rangers,
you'll see my Power Ranger fan fiction comic is going to be way better than this bullshit. But I mean, like I said, I didn't hate it. I just nothing ends.
I know it was unfulfilled.
So, it was unfulfilling. That's how I was. Yeah, that's why I gave it a 3.5. I was debating. I was like, I mean, it was fine to read, but then it doesn't end, and then because of the ending, I'm like, I got to give this less than. I got to give it less than a 5 for sure. And then because of the other little nitpicks I had, if everything else hit, but the ending was bad, I'd be like, like a 4.5. But they didn't do any of the other stuff I wanted either. Yeah. so it's kind of like, well, we'll leave it at that. So on that,
Matt likes to put his tip on the table before when you first come to deliver the meal, and then every time you mess up, he takes away 50 cents.
Yes, exactly.
Tip. Anyway, on that note, what do we read next week?
Next week, we're going to read Wanted by Mark Miller.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so it's I don't know if, I'm sure you saw the movie. Did you see the movie?
I was like, I have only seen the movie.
Okay,
I know of, I've seen the cover with the big red eye masked or whatever character, but I've never. Yeah, and all I know is Curve the Bullet. That's all I remember.
And that's not in the comics.
Oh, nice. Well, good. So I'll be going into this blind.
Yeah, so if the only thing you know about Wanted is Curve the Bullet, then you don't know anything about the comic. So, yeah, it is
Wait, is Angelina Jolie in the comic too?
No. And I think this is from like the early 2000s is one of Mark Millar's first kind of hits. I mean, he did other stuff like The Authority, but this is like one of his first indie kind of hits.
Like the big, okay.
Because a lot of the other stuff was like The Authority, and he was writing with Grant Morrison, like together. They like Mark Miller was Grant Morrison's like protege kind of thing. So
wow.
They would work together on a lot of stuff, and then all of a sudden Mark Miller started writing stuff on his own. And I don't know if they're still buds or not. I don't know, but they're both Scottish, I think. So I think I'm not going to start a war with that. I thought they were. They both have accents, so I can't tell. I'm an American. So
dumb American. We apologize. Yeah. Throw that out there now.
Anyway, they both. I mean, I'll say this: I can understand Mark Millar more than I can Grant Morrison. So maybe he's not Scottish. I don't know. But either way, this is like one of his first like forays into indie publishing. And now, if you know anything about him now, Mark Miller wrote Jupiter's Legacy, which is now a TV show on Netflix. He did all that. Kick-Ass, that movie. He did, I don't know. There's a bunch of shit that he's written that's now either movies and stuff. So he kind of made his own little empire out of these indie books that he wrote.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of interesting to see. This is like one of the first ones that kind of made it. And no one really knew this was like a comic book movie when it came out. I remember being like, does anybody know? And like, no, not really. They didn't really. I mean, it's in the credits, but they didn't really say anything. So, but yeah. So anyway, read that one. Or hear us get spoiled or whatever, or hear us spoil it.
Spoil the crap out of it.
Yeah, and on that note, if you guys have any comments, questions, or suggestions, you can email us at planestrains.comicbooks, all one word, at gmail.com.
And don't forget about our Twitter, our Instagram, and our YouTube channel for exclusive content. Matt is really pumping it out there.
Pumping out all the reviews. And also, while we're at it, I think this is our last week. We're going to be running the 100 subscriber giveaway.
Yeah, we hit our 100 subscribers, but we don't have as many comments, and we want to make sure
trying to make it
that
fair.
We give it fair. So this week, if you comment on any video from the Monsters Review forward, even in our Sunday videos, any of them, you'll be entered in the drawing, and we will.
As long as you subscribe.
As long as you subscribe, yeah. Subscribe to YouTube and comment. And
I'll say we'll cut it off for sure at 110 subscribers, but it looks like we'll probably hit that this week anyway. So.
Yeah. So, and we will officially, next Sunday when we release our podcast.
We'll say who won.
Yeah, we'll do the drawing then.
Yeah.
Either on the podcast or right after.
We'll just say who
We'll just do it on Instagram.
Yeah, there you go.
Or YouTube.
Yeah, that's a good idea. We'll post it on our social medias who won. So
sounds good.
Yeah, on that note, we'll see you on the next one.
On the next one.
Bye.